I mean, we've got a God who's doing weird stuff, but a God who's faithful. And so tonight I want to talk about some of the things that I hoped for, some of the things that maybe some of you hoped for as well. I mean, we saw a student get baptized, not because I preached the gospel to her, but because you all were willing to share your faith. And that's honestly the hope of any pastor. That's the dream of any leader who's a Christian, is to say, you know what, I want to see that people do it so well that they don't need me anymore. So I applaud you all for what you're doing and what you're continuing to do, what you'll do later on. Because I know you're capable. Because the God who I serve is the same God you serve. And he says, you're good. Because he's made you good. Now, I've got a statement I want on the screen, and I want you to think to yourself, what comes to mind when you think, I hope? Now, there are a lot of different things that come to mind. It could be something like amazing, I hope I get a date, or I hope I get some candy, I hope Pastor Akil doesn't go long. I don't plan to go long tonight, so you're good. I'm going to get Steak and Shake after this, got a free milkshake coming my way, so look. I'm glad I go long enough, right? Praise God. Praise God. But sometimes we have little hooks, right? The little hooks, like, I like to go fishing. Anybody else like to go fishing? Anybody else? No, just one, right? All of a sudden, hands just come up. Or we all delayed, okay? How many of y'all like sunshine? Anybody like sunshine? Anybody out here? I'm not talking Florida sunshine when you walk outside and you're instantly the color of me. I'm talking like light sunshine. When you walk outside, like, oh, it's pleasant. Vitamin D feels good. Because sometimes we plan events outside, like a golf tournament, and you say to yourself, I really hope it doesn't rain. And then God says, funny, because today is the day where it's going to rain, because we live in Florida. And you just never know what's the summer here. You never know what it's going to be like. The weatherman can say it's going to be nice and sunny, 100% chance. Why are you lying to me, man? Some of us hope in this right here. You know, if you're a Cubs fan, you maybe waited 100 years to see you. I mean, hopefully none of you are 100 years old, but maybe your great-great-grandfather, something like that. But someone was hoping for 100 years the Cubs would win the World Series. They're like, you know what, please God, if there's a God above, the person died, and they'll one day say, that was such an ill-placed clap, the person died. We're just gonna move on from this, because that was obvious. Another thing we hope for, somebody, hold on. How many of y'all sitting next to a guy in here? Raise your hand. Anybody sitting next to a boy? Anybody sitting next to a boy? All right. All right. Sitting next to a girl. All right. Y'all want to say something. I thought of this one and I thought of you people. Because usually our girls don't struggle with this. Is it up there? Okay, it's not. Awesome. Some of you come into a counter and you have a hope. You hope that the person sitting next to you is wearing deodorant. You know what I mean? Hey, camp is in June. Camp is in June. When that time comes, we'll throw our jar sheets. But some of y'all come in here hoping, I really hope the person doesn't smell bad, and they don't, they're nasty. I'll tell you what, welcome to Central Students. You never know what you might smell. That's just the way things are here. So those are things we hope for, right? But then you also say, you know, I hope I never, as something comes to mind. Like for me, I've seen pictures. Like Mike one time sent me a picture, and I thought he was wearing a white shirt. Right. I thought he was wearing a white shirt, and then I looked at it and realized that is not a shirt. It was sunburn. And so in my mind, I don't burn. In case you're wondering, like I don't burn. Some people can, but I can't. And so I hope I never get sunburned, because I've seen what happens to some people. I can't say you people, I'm not going to assume, but I've seen what happens to some people, and it looks nasty. Your skin just leaves you. It's gone, flakes off, like I said, in the wind, gone. I mean, you see people have boils on their skin. What? No. What? Sunscreen. You are strong. The sun is stronger. Sunscreen. Maybe that's why God gave us rain, because you people don't have the common sense. Not you people, some people. I'm not going to assume. Some people that have the competition just lather it on and then reapply. Reapply for 80 minutes. Another thing, some people say, I hope I never, it's this one right here. Some people freak out about this. I hope I never have to speak in front of a large crowd. That was me when I was younger. It wasn't because I was scared, I just didn't really feel like talking to people. So I didn't do my own thing, so I hang out. I would like to be outside. I didn't really serve a purpose in speaking to people. And God said, oh, okay, really cool. You're going to be selfish, I can deal with that. All the time you're going to hang out with people. Even when you try to go fishing, people are going to come to you, hey, what are you fishing for? Did you pray about that? How did you know? Legitimately. I can't escape people, but it's okay, it's a good thing, because God says, Akil, I'm better than your desire to just be left alone in life. There are just things, I'm going to say amen, okay, that's right. There are things we hope for, right? And there are things we hope we never experience, but then it goes a little farther, it's like a different echelon, steps over here. And we say, I'm terrified that one day, for those of you who didn't just hear what was just said. This man said, I'm terrified that one day I will get married.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Whatever. Hey, that's fine. That's not what I'm saying at all. But like, what are the, if you were to be honest with yourself for a moment, because we want to be honest here, when you read this statement, it's not a full sentence yet, read this statement, it says, I'm terrified that one day, and that this is rhetorical, which means please don't answer out loud. You gotta explain these things. What comes to your mind? What is it that one thing, maybe it's more than one thing, maybe it's multiple things, that when you think to yourself, I'm terrified that one day, is it I'm terrified that one day people are going to see me for who I am? People are like, ooh, this guy, that's getting real. That's what I do. But that's most of us, if we're honest. Most of us, we live our lives trying to hide, trying to cover who we are. And not with makeup, but I'm talking with things like our social media, or our clothing, the clothing we wear, the car we get, or education. We're trying to hide who we really are because we're thinking, I'm so terrified that no one's gonna like me. I'm so terrified that one day people are gonna see me for who I am and they're gonna say, that's it? That's all you have to offer? Some people, when you get older, maybe you're there already. If you're already here, you're very advanced. But some people will look back on their life and say, you know what, I'm terrified that one day I'll look back and, I didn't do anything in my life. I didn't accomplish anything. I left no impact, I left no mark. Some people are scared, so scared of that. We all have things that most of us have things we're terrified of. We say, you know what, this really, it stops me in my tracks. And I don't know what to do with it. And you might ask yourself, Pastor Gil, why would you go from talking about hope to terror? Because I'm weird. And because there's a Bible passage, it is Proverbs chapter 10, verse 24. It talks about hopes. And it talks about things we dread. And dread is basically being afraid of something that might happen or could happen. And it really got me thinking a lot. We're going to talk about a story from a guy in the Bible who lived a lot longer after this passage, and way after this passage was written down. But it's a passage in Proverbs 10:24 says, by the way, what the wicked dreads will come upon him, but the desire of the righteous will be given. And it actually addresses that question people ask all the time, why does bad stuff happen to good people? Well, we can talk about what a good person actually is. A better question to ask, it's a question Pastor Allen quoted, or said, and I get to quote him, is why does good stuff happen to bad people? Because we can all acknowledge where we fall short. We can all acknowledge where we have messed up, and we know we've broken God's law, whether it's sinning, whether it's lying, whether it's stealing, whether it's cheating, whatever it might be, whether it be, I don't know, saying something you shouldn't say under your breath because you don't want your parents to hear you, and then when they ask you what you said, nothing, I didn't say anything. Whatever it might be, because it's just scripture kind of says, honor your father and your mother, which I was cool with, and then it says that your days will be long in the eyes of the Lord, which I said, I don't care about living a long life, but that's arrogance. Some of you might say, oh, it's not a big deal, but then you lied to your parents, so because you didn't just tell them. And now, please don't ever do this. If you say something under your breath, your parents say, what did you say? Well, here's what I said. It won't work out for you. I'll be terrified to see that video. It's like, you went down, dying. But today we're going to talk about a guy who lived his life in a way that showed what he desired and what he was scared of. And it's something that I think all of us need to look at, because a lot of us, in all honesty, have desires. They're strong desires, they're weak desires. You know, desires are something you crave, something you want. And then we have things that we're scared of. We have things we put our hope in. We have things to, I really hope this never happens. So if you have your Bible, go ahead and turn to, let's see, Luke. We're going to start in Luke chapter 6. And if not, it's okay, we're going to be all over the place. It's going to be Luke, we're going to be John, we're going to be Matthew, and I'm going to say Matthew for a while. We're pretty much going to camp out in Matthew after that. So that's what we're going to be, Luke, and then John, and then Matthew. So the reason we're reading from Luke right now is because, if you didn't know, Luke is one of the Gospels, right? So we've got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and what? John, yeah, John. So I had planned on writing this from Matthew's account. Then I read Matthew's account, I read Mark's account, I read Luke's account, I read John's. Then I got back to Luke's account, it's just kind of like, you're a little different than the other three. And it's just two words. Two words the other people use, one word he uses. But it's fascinating, the little difference of word he made. So what's going on here is, he says, in these days, Jesus, in these days, he went out to the mountain to pray. And all night he continued in prayer to God. And when day came, he called his disciples and chose from them 12, whom he proclaimed apostles. Simon, who he called, named Peter, and Andrew his brother, and James, and John, and Philip, and Bartholomew, and Matthew, and Thomas, there it is, I was just going to keep going. And James, the son of Alphaeus, and Simon, who was called the Zealot, and Judas, the son of James, and then that other Judas, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. Now what's interesting is, everywhere else it says, and Judas, who betrayed Jesus. Right? It says, and Judas, who did something, who betrayed Jesus. But this guy says, Judas, who became something. See, we can do something, and it's very different than becoming something. So tonight I want to talk about what he became and how he became that. Because a lot of us know the story of Judas, but I'm not going to assume everybody knows the story of Judas. So we're going to talk about something awkward. The testimony of Judas. You ready? Let the game begin. Who is Judas? Well, let's find out. John chapter 12, verses 4 through 5. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, Jesus' disciples, he who was about to betray him said, why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor? You might ask yourself, okay, well, what's going on here? Because usually when you've got that but there, something happened right before that. There's always something that happens before the but. What happened? Well, here's what happened. Jesus shows up, I think 6 days before the Passover. Yeah, 6 days. 6 days before the Passover. And he's hanging out at Lazarus and Mary and Martha's house. And he's chilling. And he's got Martha, who is basically working, doing a job. I don't know what kind of job she's doing, but she's working on something. And then with Lazarus, it says she's just chilling at the table with everybody else. And Mary comes in and just breaks this jar of ridiculously expensive oil on Jesus. Now, it wasn't like she's like, yeah, died. No. I'm assuming she cracked like on the side with one hand because she was skilled. Bit, pull apart. And then she washes his feet with her hair. And she also washes his hair. She anoints his head with this special oil. So you might assume to yourself, okay, well, clearly, even though Judas decided to betray Jesus, Judas got the fact that you got to take care of the poor people. You know, he's like philanthropy. It's popular, not just in Greek society. It's a big deal. But clearly, that's the wrong idea, because that's not what happened at all. So the next verse says, he said this not because he cared about the poor, which is ironic because Jesus was always talking about the poor and the least of these and all kinds of stuff, but because he was a thief. And having charge of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put in it. We're into it. So here's what happens. Judas is the treasurer. He's the one, he's the accountant, basically, of all the disciples. So the disciples and Jesus. And what an accountant does, or the treasurer does, is they say, okay, cool, $5, all right, put it in here. Here's the ledger. Awesome. All right, take the money. Cool, we've got this much money left, so we can buy these things. That was Judas's job. Now, Jesus knows a lot of things. Remember, Jesus is talking to people, and he hears people's thoughts, and he addresses their thoughts. They didn't say anything. He hears their thoughts and addresses them. Jesus was the one who put Judas in charge of the money. And Judas was stealing money out of the bag. And Judas says to everybody, hey, y'all, look, you need to stop this lady. Because she just wasted a year's salary of ointment or oil that could have been sold. What's up with that? Jesus says, leave her alone. Leave her alone. What she did is good. And in this moment, Judas said, interesting. I'm the accountant. I'm in charge of the money. And whatever we get, whatever you get, Jesus, comes to me. But now, all of a sudden, you're saying, it's not a big deal if we would just waste all this money. Okay, this isn't going to work out. How do I know it's not going to work out? Well, let's see what he does. So then one of the 12, whose name was Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, what will you give me if I deliver him over to you? And they paid him 30 pieces of silver. And from that moment, he sought an opportunity to betray him. So what Judas basically says is, okay, this has been a fun run, and I really appreciate what you're doing, Jesus. It's been great. You're feeding people. You're walking on water and stuff. You're doing great things. Calming the seas. Like, all right, I get it. You're a pretty cool teacher. You get the law. But you just got in the way of my finances and the way my bank account's set up. You can't do that. So you got to go. And so what he does is he says, I'm going to go and I'm going to turn him in for as much money as I can. Now, those 30 pieces of silver, it's not a ton of money. It averages up to like $7,000, right? So it's about the money you would get if your slave is basically gored by an ox. So Judas realizes, okay, you know what? Jesus is not really worth much. And that's what the priests also say. He's not really worth much, but we're going to give you something because we really want to get rid of this guy. He's a nuisance, but not a big enough nuisance where we want to pay a lot of money. So Judas says, okay, I'm going to find an opportunity to let him go, to get rid of him. So the next day. When it was evening, he reclined at the table with the 12, he, Jesus. And as they were eating, he said, "Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me." If I were Judas, this is where my ears would kind of prick up. What'd you say? And they were very sorrowful and began to say to him, one after another, "Is it I, Lord?" He answered, "He who has dipped his hand in the dish with me will betray me." Now imagine it's like a little Zaxby's cup right there, and this is Judas and Jesus, and Judas looks at Jesus, Jesus looks at Judas, and they're just kind of like, Judas, it wasn't me. Because Judas says this, we'll say it in a second. I apologize. Betray me. The Son of Man goes, as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never been in a situation where somebody says, this is about to be messed up. Like, I've messed up in my life. I've made bad choices, I've gotten spankings before. But my parents never told me, you're going to wish that today you were never born. Because at that point, I'd probably run away. I'll just be honest with you. I'd be like, you know what, whatever spanking this is, just not worth it. I'd be gone. So how does Judas respond to this? Not a threat, but more a statement, quoting scripture. Judas, who would betray him, answered, "Is it I, Rabbi?" Like, how are you going to ask somebody, if you know you're guilty, how are you going to look them dead in the eye and say, so you're saying somebody's going to betray you, and you're quoting about it, and I know you read minds, I know you do amazing miracles. Is it me who's going to betray you? When you know you still got the money bag in your pocket, just jangling along. And Jesus is awesome. Because he doesn't say, hey, yeah, it's you. He says, you have said so. He's like, you know what? You're the one who said it, not me. I'm not saying you're doing it. But you're the one who just testified to the fact that you did it, that you're going to do it. So how does Judas respond to this? Does he stay and hang out for the rest of the dinner, the rest of the meal, Passover? Nah. Judas leaves. Which, let's be honest, if any of us get called out, no one likes being called out. No one likes being called out for what they've done wrong, or what they're about to do wrong. When somebody says, hey, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're about to do. Yeah, don't think you're slick. You're not slick. Judas leaves. He just gets out of there. But then what happens after that? Well, Jesus goes off to go pray in Gethsemane with some of the disciples, clearly not Judas, because Judas is gone. People are falling asleep, they wake back up, they fall asleep again, wake back up. Jesus is like, come on guys, look, can't you just stay awake for a little bit? So Jesus is out there, it's late at night. While he was still speaking, Judas came, Judas is dead, one of the 12, and with him a great crowd with swords and clubs, from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, the one I will kiss is the man, seize him. And he came up to Jesus at once and said, greetings, Rabbi. And he kissed him. Jesus knew exactly what was about to happen. And how does Jesus respond? I want y'all to notice this. Because Jesus, I'll be honest, he's weird. He's weird. According to what we say, when you know somebody's going to try and wrong you, you try and wrong them first. It's just how we do it. It's not you try and get out of it. You try and you know what? I'm making sure you don't mess with me ever again. So you won't even think about it. Let's be honest, right? Jesus said to him, friend, do what you have come to do. Time out. Old Testament says a friend loves at all times and brother's created for adversity. Jesus said, no greater love is this, that a friend will lay his life down for another, or may lay his life down for a friend. A friend is a big deal. Judas shows up with the people that are going to arrest Jesus. Shows up with them. And I imagine that Jesus is hearing his thoughts as well. Maybe the chatter. But he sees these people, and Judas is like, all right, man, hang on. Let me just kiss him on the cheek. This is the one. Watch this. What's up, Rabbi? And Jesus says, hello, friend. Which shows me something about Jesus' character that I think we tend to overlook. Jesus doesn't hold the sins we're going to do against us. He doesn't look at us and say, ooh, I know you're going to mess up. You are guilty and wrong. Now, he definitely calls Judas, well, he says it earlier, way earlier in Scripture, he says, oh, there's a devil amongst you. But he also says to the Pharisees and anybody who's fallen short, anybody who won't acknowledge your sin, hey, you are of your father, Satan. So it's not like he was differentiating Judas from anybody else. He was putting them all in the same category. Hey, all of y'all are letting something else dictate how you live your life, and you probably don't want to do that, because that makes you equivalent to the devil in my eyes. Well, what happens? Well, then Judas his betrayer. This is after he betrays Jesus, and Jesus is taken off, and he goes in, he's basically talking to the people. Then Judas sees Jesus, and this is what he says. He says, then when Judas, his betrayer, saw that Jesus was condemned, he changed his mind. Well, it's a little late now. And brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders, saying, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? Basically, bro, that's your problem, not ours. See to it yourself. So what does he do? And throwing down the pieces of silver into the temple, he departed and he went and he hanged himself. So it just went from Judas realizing Jesus got in the way of his finances, and Judas saying, okay, I need to get as much money as I can. I'm going to cash out right now. All right, this stock is starting to depreciate, starting to lose value, so I'm going to get as much money as I can before I lose everything. To him realizing, oh, wait a minute. Maybe this was the wrong choice. Now, I find it really interesting the fact that Jesus hasn't died yet. Jesus didn't die, he wasn't buried, and he hasn't resurrected yet. If it had been after the resurrection, I could understand Judas saying, oh, I'm messed up. But it wasn't. It was before all that stuff took place. It was like he's sitting there and all of a sudden the wheels start turning and he realized, oh snap. Oh no. Oh no. And then you gotta realize also he was there when Peter decided to just cut a man's ear off. And Jesus was like, come on Peter, calm down. I told you you're gonna deny me 3 times today. This isn't the first time, come on. Judas saw all this. And yet he still wanted to get his silver, but at some point he saw Jesus and said, wait a minute now. I messed up. I've sinned. I've fallen short. So he says, look, hey, just take it back. Just take it back. And they're like, yeah, it's too late, man. We got what we wanted out of it. Figure it out for yourself. So how does Judas handle the realization that he's fallen short? How does Judas handle the realization that he's sinned against somebody who's innocent? He says, I can't handle this. I can't handle this guilt. I can't handle this sin. So he ends his life. And I want you to look at a statement really quick. We talked earlier about what the wicked dreads will come upon them. Not given. That verse 10:24 says, what the wicked dreads will be given. Well, I apologize. What the wicked dreads will come upon him, but what the righteous desires will be given. See, to come upon something and be given something are 2 different things. If I walk up and see a $20 bill on the ground, like, awesome, score. But if a boss says, hey, here's a $200 raise, it's given. Or let's say $20 raise. It's given. Something handed to you versus something come upon is different. And a lot of people think, okay, you know what? God caused this bad thing to happen in my life. Sometimes God is allowing you to be in your situation because you made that choice. I'm not saying that, okay, look, you're a great person and something bad happens. There are times also we see, like it says in James 1:3, that you know what? Count it all joy when we face trials of various kinds. For we know the testing of our faith produces steadfastness. So sometimes God allows things in your life because he says, you know what? I want you to see just how good I am. I want you to see just how faithful I am. But this isn't Judas' case right here. Judas is messed up. But what did Judas dread? What was it that he was so afraid of? Because it says that what they dread will come upon them. Judas was afraid of the fact that, you know what? Maybe Jesus is who he says he is. And what he said about money was real. When he said money is the root of all sorts of evil, all kinds of evil. When he said, when you idolize things in this world, it's going to leave a hole in your heart. Because realize, Judas spent 3 years with Jesus, walking around with him, hanging out with him, seeing him perform miracles. And now what's amazing is, a lot of what Jesus didn't have to be recorded. Because if it did, we wouldn't have enough books. 3 years of just conversation with Jesus, what he did, how he lived his life. But Judas got experience majority of that. He wasn't part of the inner circle, but he was still part of the 12. But yeah, for 3 years, Judas was more focused on getting what he could out of Jesus than experiencing who Jesus was. And he was so afraid of the fact that, you know what, maybe this guy really is who he says he is. Terrified of it. Because his hope was in this right here. His hope was in, okay, this money is going to satisfy me. This money is going to be enough. But when you hope in something like that, you also hope in something else. You hope that the money is good enough, but you hope you never find out that it's not good enough. You hope that what you put your faith in, you trust in, never lets you down. But what happened? He got paid, and then he gave up the money. Threw it away. Said, look, I messed up. I don't want this anymore. But what's interesting is he goes from that to saying, okay, look, I've sinned, I've fallen short, I need to kill myself. Go to the next slide. Judas acknowledged that he messed up, which some of us do. Some of us are willing to say, okay, I fell short. Yeah, I lied, or I cheated, or I should have said that, or I should have spoken that way, or maybe I should have waited, I overreacted a little bit. My bad. But then do we change how we act? Nah, we just acknowledge that we messed up. Judas did something that Jesus asked us to do. A small part of it. Jesus asked us to acknowledge our sins. But not just to say, oh, I sin, I struggle with porn, or I idolize money, or I care more about my friends than I do about investing in my relationship with God. But I'm going to stay with that because it's real. Oh, it's right here. Jesus doesn't say stay there. He says acknowledge what you do that's wrong and then turn away from it. Repent. But Judas didn't make the choice to do that. And that shows me Judas missed the message of Jesus Christ. Because how many times did someone come up to Jesus and Jesus says, go and sin no more? How many times did someone come up to Jesus and Jesus said, hey, yeah, I know about their sins. Yeah, here's all your stuff. Here's all your dirty laundry. You're forgiven. Go and sin no more. When Judas sinned, he went and killed himself. Because he missed who Jesus really was. He missed the message of the gospel. He was this close to Jesus. This close, right there with him. One of the apostles. One of the people who actually got to smell what Jesus' breath smelled like in the morning. It didn't have Tic Tac back then. And yet he missed the message of Jesus Christ. Now, how do you do that? How do you get so close to God? How do you get so close to Jesus and miss who he really is? Because here's how. Judas' fear kept him from experiencing God's freedom, Jesus' freedom. Judas' fear kept him from getting real with God. Judas' fear kept him from getting real with himself. We acknowledge it, right? How do we know that? Judas hanged himself. He's dead. No one is called Judas anymore. You know what name is bad in the Bible? Well, people don't use it anymore. Nebuchadnezzar, people don't use that anymore. A lot of names, Herod, people don't use those names anymore. Why? Because they're like, oh, you did something bad. Who wants to name their kid Judas? That is a parent who does not like that child from the womb. That is messed up. Please don't do that to your kids. But here's a more important question, because most of you all really don't care about Judas' fight. You don't. Dead, gone, buried, right? Well, maybe buried. He actually was eaten by birds, but you don't care about that part. I'm here to teach you the whole truth, right? But I want you to think about this, because this is something I can think about as well. When I read this passage, when I spend time with God, I'm constantly having to say, okay, God, turn my eyes from looking upon worthless things and give me life either way. Psalm 119:37. I need God to focus me, because sometimes it's easy to get focused on things that don't matter. What is it that I hold on to so closely, so dear, that keeps me from being liberated? Is it the fear of failure? I had a conversation with a family member past couple days, because it never seems to be enough for just one day. That's okay though. Because sometimes conversations, you gotta think things out, you know? It's like, all right, hey, it's part 1, volume 1. All right, cool, let me know when you got volume 2. But the fear of failure is real in people's lives. Some people say, you know what, I'm gonna mess up, and that's okay. But I need to get back up and learn from my mistakes. Some people are afraid of other people's opinions. See, look, if this person doesn't like me, my life is ruined. If this person doesn't see value in me, then who am I? Why am I even here? Some people are afraid of letting their parents down. Let's be honest for a moment. We've all got parents who have high expectations. Some of us are afraid of our parents saying, wow, I'm disappointed. They will make a statement, oh, you know, I'm not mad at you. I'm disappointed in your decision. That means you're disappointed in who I am. That who I am right now in your eyes isn't good enough. My actions aren't good enough. Some of us are afraid of hearing that. Some of us are afraid of letting ourselves down. We have so many fears, so many insecurities, so many doubts, so many worries. And if you're a Christian, or somebody who's experienced God, maybe you have something you struggle with. Maybe you have something that you say, God, I really don't know how to let go of this one thing. It keeps on coming back to me. For a long, long time, I struggled with the lust of the flesh. My justification was, I'm not having sex with anybody, I'm not doing anything, it's okay. But then it went from that to me manipulating the women in my life. And not just the women, but I started manipulating people. I realized that, you know what, I can be a certain way around them, and I can get them to do whatever I want. And I no longer saw value in people. And you know what I was afraid of? I was afraid of being exposed. I was afraid that one day somebody would see what I was doing and say, wow, I thought you were a Christian. Wow, I thought you loved God. Wow, I thought you were better than that. So I put on this mask, I put on this facade, I put on this outward expression that, you know what, I've got it all together. I'm smart, I'm articulate, I know what I'm doing, I don't need anybody. When what I was really terrified of was somebody getting so close they could smell the rot that was inside of me. Because I was addicted to something that was destroying my soul. But eventually, I had to let that go. Eventually I'd say, you know what, Jesus, if I really say you're God, if I really say you're Lord, if I say that you really did not only die on a cross an excruciating death, but lay your life down and stay in a grave for 3 days. I don't know why you stayed 3 days, but you stayed 3 days, and then raise back up, conquering death, conquering my sins, and offer me a chance to walk a new life. If I really believe that, then why am I so addicted to this thing and saying I can't let it go? I can't give it up. It's stronger than anything else I've experienced. No, it's not. Don't believe that lie. Don't believe the lie that your sins are greater and stronger than the God that we serve. It's the spirit of fear. I made a joke earlier about how the light casts out all darkness. It was a joke from dark skin, but it's very biblical as well. When we expose our sin, when we get real with God about who He says we are, about what He says about what we're doing, it's amazing. God looks at us and said, you are nasty, you are wretched, you are terrible. No! He doesn't say that. Too much. Let's kill myself. He said, I can't talk. What in the world? The Bible says, what the heck? But if we confess, no. But if we confess our thank you so much, you just, who's this? I don't drink after people. But the Bible says if we confess our sins, He's faithful and just to forgive us of our sins and cleanse us of all unrighteousness, right? 1 John 1:9. Not if I confess my sins, He's going to call me out and say, yeah, you really didn't mess up. You need to get your act together. Yeah, you really didn't mess up. You're the only person doing it. Everybody else gets it, Akil. Why don't you get it? No, He says if you confess your sins, God is faithful and just to forgive you of your sins, to literally separate as far as the east is from the west. Ironically, you can't really separate those two because they never touch. So He says, look, it's gone forever. Faithful to forgive me of my sins and cleanse me of all righteousness. Not just where I am right now, but what's going to come later on. Struggles that I don't even know are going to come my way. But I have to get past my fear of being rejected. I have to get past my fear of not being good enough. I have to get past the fear of fear itself. The Bible says for a purpose, 365 times throughout its entirety, be not afraid. Because the things that terrorize us, the things that we dread, will one day come upon us. What would you do then? So tonight we're going to do something a little different. I want you to look at that right there. What do I fear? Or you could say, what am I holding on to? What's my sin? Whatever it is, what's crippling you? What's getting in the way of you experiencing the perfect freedom that is offered by Jesus Christ? And we're going to give you a chance to actually come up with sticky notes. We were going to do nails, but I don't want to get sued because somebody gets their finger. So we're going to take this cross. We're going to write our sins down. We're going to leave it at the cross. We're going to leave whatever we might struggle with, whatever might be going on in our life, and we're going to say, you know what, God? I've got to acknowledge that there is an issue. Then I've got to acknowledge that just me saying there's an issue isn't going to fix it. Because my way of fixing it is trying to avoid it. That's what Judas did. He tried to avoid his guilt. What's the best way to avoid your guilt? Ending it. Ending your life. So many people walk through life guilty, feeling like no one notices and no one loves them. They end their lives. But the amazing thing about Christianity is Jesus doesn't say, hey, I want you to fix your life and get right so you can come to me. Romans 5:8 says, but God shows His love that while we were still sinners, Christ died for me. In the midst of my worst days when I was manipulating people because, and honestly, it was how I lived my life. I wasn't even thinking about it anymore. That's just how I lived my life. God said, okay, Akil, I love you enough to acknowledge where you are, but to bring you out of that. Because I've got better plans for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to live a life that you could never live. And I'm going to pay the penalty you should have paid. And I'm going to offer you freedom. Freedom that you'll never deserve. Because my love is sufficient, I'm going to love you through this. And I'm going to help you be a man who is above reproach. But I've got to get past the fear of saying, you know what, God, but I struggle with, but God, I can't, but God, I can't. God says, Akil, just come to me. Bring your issues, bring your insecurities, bring your fears, bring your doubts, bring your worries, bring it all to me. And trust that I'm big enough, trust that I'm strong enough, trust that I'm smart enough to handle it. Because there's my doubt, there would be my fear. My thoughts are, does God know what's best for me? Does God care enough to guide me to what's best for me? Or is it just, all right, you'll figure it out eventually? Because if my God, the God that I serve, doesn't care enough about me, if he's intelligent enough to walk with me and say, I'm going to separate you from these things, why would I follow him? Why would I trust him? How can you trust somebody who doesn't know what they're doing? The God that I serve is a God who's worthy of me saying everything I fear, every insecurity I have, everything I've struggled with, God, I'm going to lay it down at your feet. Because you can handle it. And I trust that in time, God, that'll no longer be a focus of mine. In time, that I will be able to focus on who you are, meditate on your word, and I'll look back and say, the Akil of the past he's gone, man. He was nasty, but he's gone. Not because of what I was able to do, but because of what God did through me. So we're going to pray. And as we pray, I want you to really think about, get introspective, but not just introspective. We're going to get up, we're going to put it on this cross. I want you to think about, what is it in my life that maybe gets in the way of me experiencing the totality of freedom offered by Jesus Christ's death on the cross, burial, and then resurrection? What is it? And I want you to come up here, get a sticky note, get a pen, write it down, fold it up, stick it to the cross. Leave it here. When you walk out of here, be new, be whole, and know that you are loved by God.